up, y'all? This is Neena Perez, and this is Straight Talk, No Sugar Added. I am so stoked you are here. I love doing this show because I meet such amazing human beings, and then I bring them on here to grow, challenge, and transform your thinking. So I found another amazing human. Her name is Renee Jones, and she is a speaker, a coach, a counselor, and she's the author of the book, What's Really Eating You? So you know we're going there today, right, people? And her mission is to help everyone heal their hearts and overcome emotional eating. When we face our stuff, we no longer need to stuff our face. Do you not love that? Okay, Renee. I'm loving this already. This conversation is going to go extremely well, I think. Probably a little ouch, a couple of ouches are in there, but we're going to be good. We're going to be good. So, Renee, thank you so much for being on Straight Talk. How are you?
I'm well, and thank you for having me.
I'm glad you're here. So, Renee, this is how I like to start the show. I always like to ask my guests who they are. So, who are you, Renee? Who are you?
Well, I am a lifelong diet yo-yo person. And
Me too.
oh, gosh, I mean, I started when I was like 10 years old because I was redheaded when redhead wasn't cool.
Right.
And I was a chunky kid, and all of my little blonde and brunette friends were thin. And I thought, I want to be like them.
Right.
So
Right.
that's where it began. But I eventually lost my weight 10 years ago this month. I
Wow.
hit
That's
my goal weight.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, so talk to me about that. What
Mm.
when you were 10, was it because your family just was already overweight? Was this something that you found comfort in food? Talk to me a little bit about that.
Sure. Well, my grandmother's family name was Broadway, and they took it to heart.
Okay.
They it was farming family. They were in the depression. They were just trying to get by,
Mm,
and you know, uh, foods that aren't expensive tend to expand our waistlines.
yeah, that's very
So
true.
they never learned a lot about nutrition. And then once they did, they were stuck in this loop of emotional eating.
Yeah. Yeah.
Food is comfort, food
Yeah.
is soothing. So when I was 10, I said to my mother, I'd like to do this. She said, you're kind of young, but okay.
Mhm.
Thinking that if I learned it then, maybe I would be the one to break the family cycle.
Mhm. Mhm.
Unfortunately, she was no better at it than I was.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
we'd do that thing. We'd do well for a month. Maybe we'd reach somewhere near our goal, and then we would go back to eating the way we always had.
Mhm. Mhm.
And when you do what you've always done, you get what you always got.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what, Renee, this has always been a struggle for me too, right? And it's something that you don't realize. You kind of like look back and go, holy Toledo, this has been now 20 years, 30 years, right? It's not like it's only been a year thing. This is something that affects a lot of people for a very long time, right?
Yes.
So talk to me about your journey of the going up, up and down. Tell me a little bit about what your journey felt like.
Well, it was. It would be down 5 pounds, up 15, down 20, up again 30, 40, 50 pounds. And I
Mhm.
don't know how high it got because I stopped weighing myself.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
I would have these periods of time that I think I'm going to do it. And it wasn't until New Year's 2012 that I thought I'm about to be 50. Women can't lose weight after 50. So I
Yeah,
thought,
yeah.
this is going to be my year. So I started out and I'd get a couple of weeks in and I'd fall off the wagon. I'd start again and again. And finally, I was in my closet in April and I could not find something that fit. Even my fat
Mm,
clothes were too tight. I had to find something that I could hold together with a safety pin so I could go to work
mm,
that day. And I thought, I don't know. I got no ideas as to what to do now.
yeah.
So when I got home, I started doing some research and I ran across the term emotional eating. I thought, oh, that's what I am. I'm an emotional eater because
Mhm,
when
mhm.
you get upset or frustrated or mad or sad, you go to food for comfort.
Yeah, yep, yep.
So in the end, after that closet trauma, I hired myself a coach, and it's the first time I had spent that much money on myself. But it also turned out to
Mm,
be the best money I ever spent on myself. And
so true.
we spent about 2 sessions talking about food, and then we got into the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I lost weight not because of the diet, but because I stopped putting food in my mouth to comfort myself. And I did. I reached my goal weight in October of 2012. And 10 years later, I am precisely the same size.
Isn't that amazing?
1 or 2 pounds here or there, up or down, but that's normal fluctuation.
Yeah, that's normal. That's fantastic, Renee. And there's a couple of things there that were really powerful, right? The aha moment, the moment when you were like, okay, I can't even find clothing for my fat clothes, right? And it's funny that when you said that, it kind of hit me in the chest because I turned 50 this year as well. And
Mm-hmm.
it's the same thing. I took myself through a timeline through some of my traumas and
Mm-hmm.
started to heal myself in those places. And I found myself now being a little bit more alert as to what I'm eating, although
Mm-hmm.
I'm still struggling.
Sure.
But I've realized that a lot of it is habitual
Mm.
as well, right? So I
Yes.
have to change habit patterns as well, Renee. But
Yeah.
you did a lot of powerful things there. One, you decided that you were going to take action, and you did,
Mm.
right? And investing in yourself, that is the most powerful thing anyone can do. And I think most of us spend our time spending in the car, the house, the vacation, the whatever, and never think, if I could spend 3,000, 5,000, 10,000 on a vacation, can I just spend that on my education, on my emotional well-being, on my mindset, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I applaud you for that, because now, we're in 2022. So we're 10 years in and you're still the same weight.
Mm-hmm.
That is magical to my ears because it
Mm.
says hope, right?
Yeah.
Knowledge is power. It really is. When you
Yeah.
apply it, you have to apply it, of course, right?
Got to
So
make those
talk
good choices.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you that. So tell me about that, Renee. Tell me about when you started going to the coaching. How
Mm.
hard was it, or what were your challenges? What were your challenges? Because I know that it wasn't like a wake up and be like, oh, I'm going to be just amazing right now. I know that there's challenges, especially when you're 50, because I'm 50, and
Mm.
you've gone through that since you were 10,
Mm.
10.
Mm.
So those things are not easy to break.
Mm-mm.
So give me some tools there. Like, what happened there in the beginning?
Well, there was the argument with myself because I was trained to do this for other people, to help other people deal with their emotional stuff.
Right.
And it was like a two sides of my argument. But I'm trained to do this.
Right.
Yes. And you've been trying for 40 years and getting nowhere.
Right.
Am I worth that much money?
Right.
And that's why you need help. Right. So that was the initial difficulty. And
Right.
and and I had my finger over the mouse and it was just like click. Oh gosh, what have I done?
Right.
But it was
Right.
okay. So
Right.
I
Right.
met this woman, and I'll have to confess, I had an addiction to peanut butter.
Mm.
Now,
Peanut
peanut
butter's
butter,
good.
it's a perfectly lovely food as long as you
Right.
don't eat it in quantity.
Right. Right.
So I have talked to her since, and I said, "What did you say to me?" She said, "I have no idea." But whatever she said in that moment, it
Yeah.
clicked something in my brain. And sometimes
Mm.
all you need is just one piece of the Jenga
Yeah.
to come
Yeah.
out and it all falls away.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So there were times, I mean, I was happy talking about food, but then she asked me awkward questions. And then she wouldn't let me get away with my just surface answer.
Mm.
Nor would she let me get away with, well, I've done so well. I'm probably okay now. No, you're not.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Because
Right.
you said you wanted to talk about this. And it's your choice. You can do that if you want to. You can walk away and be where you are, or we can actually go after your heart and do some real
Mm-hmm.
healing.
Mm-hmm.
I was
Mm-hmm.
like,
Wow. Right. 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 So tell me some of the things that did you ever fall off the wagon when you started? Were you Was there something that you did that you were like, dang it, I shouldn't have done that? Like, were you ever afraid
Oh, sure.
of falling and going back? Yeah. Tell me
And
about that.
and I think that's the beauty of having someone else in
Yeah.
the fight with you, because you have some built-in accountability.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when I was getting, making good progress, and then I'd fall off the wagon, she was like, "Okay, what happened there? What was
Mhm.
actually going on? What are you feeling? Where are you feeling it in your body?" And it's, Nina, it's often that younger part of ourselves that is
Yeah.
reaching for some kind of soothing.
Mhm.
And instead of, giving it a pacifier, which is what it is half the time, find out what's going on for your young self and meet that
Right.
need as the adult.
That's so
So,
true.
2 years after I lost my weight, I was still tired, hungry, and cranky all the time. And I thought, this is not the way I want to be. And I did some more research and found that there are metabolic types out there. It's another way of looking at nutrition. But what it did was it took into account how my body responds to certain foods.
Right.
Bunch of questions I don't understand why they're in there, but they are. And I changed my diet because I actually lost my weight on a low fat, low calorie diet. But you can't
Mhm.
live on that.
Right. Right.
That's
Right.
why we jump out of the space, because we're hungry.
Yeah.
So this told me, hey, you need more protein, fat, that sort of thing in your life. And I
Yeah.
was thinking, how is that possible? That's not what we've
Right.
been taught.
Right. Right.
But the curious thing is, was at my goal weight. I was now 52. And I thought, okay, I'll give them a week. If I gain 3 pounds, we're going back the other direction. I lost 2 pounds that week, and I was having
Right.
cheese sauce on my broccoli
Right.
and bacon for breakfast.
Right.
It was
Right.
fantastic. And my
Right.
husband was like, "I
So
don't know
funny.
what's going on, but you whatever you're doing, keep doing that." Because I
Yeah.
wasn't tired, I wasn't hungry, and I certainly wasn't cranky.
That's
So
awesome.
one of the things that I tell my clients is we've got to find the nutrition plan that actually works for your
Yeah.
body,
Yeah.
because we're all different,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
If our fingerprints and our ears can be identifiable as well as our irises, there's more difference in us
Mhm.
chemically
Mhm.
than we give ourselves credit for. And that cookie cutter diet may or may not work for you. But finding the
Yeah.
one that
Yeah.
does helps.
It does. And I think that that's really powerful. I'm glad you brought that up because people who have been on yo-yos, I've been on yo-yos. I'm actually working
Mhm.
with a nutritionist and a naturopath now, right? Because
Great.
they
Yeah.
also believe in what you're saying.
Yeah.
They like looked at my body. They took a whole bunch of blood work. This is
Mm,
more your metabolic type,
mm.
and I've realized how much better I feel when I eat certain foods. I was like, wow, isn't that interesting? What
Yeah.
I thought was, like eating all this salad, thinking I was doing the right thing. I wasn't. Actually, was hurting my body instead of helping. I was like, what? It's crazy when that happens. But
It
you know what,
is.
Renee? What I'm glad you brought that up because I want people who are listening to understand that you don't need to be disappointed if you didn't lose weight on a certain plan.
Yes.
Not every plan is built for you, even though these gurus, for lack of a better term, try to make it seem like their diet is the diet, right?
It
Right?
is
Do you
for
agree with that?
somebody.
Yeah. Yeah, it is for somebody. Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
it will work for you
Mhm.
probably if you stick with it, but it depends on how much you can tolerate.
Mhm.
If
Mhm.
you can tolerate being hungry every day,
Right. Right.
you probably be fine. But I couldn't
Right.
tolerate that for long, and that brings out that inner unconscious part of the body that's there to keep you alive. That's its one job, keep you alive.
Mhm.
And it's
Mhm.
like, we need food. Stop
Right.
starving me. Right.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
yeah,
That's powerful.
you got to find what works for your body,
Mhm. Mhm.
whatever that may be. And it could be a metabolic test, it could be a doctor and a naturopath, it could be just trial and error.
Yeah. Yeah.
But find what
That's right.
works for you and keeps you the most satisfied for the longest.
Do you know the number of how many pounds you've actually lost?
Um, In 40 years, I figure I probably lost a ton
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
it's a little bit up and down.
Yeah.
I know I was at least 50 pounds heavier at my heaviest.
Mhm. Mhm. Wow.
I don't know
Yeah.
if it was more than that.
Mhm.
But the
Yeah,
thing
because you didn't
was,
weigh
I would
yourself, right?
I would get scared and I would come back down. So I lost 20, 30 pounds many, many times,
Yeah. Same.
but I
Same.
always gained it
Yeah.
back.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you know, Nina, I have clothes that are actually wearing out because I don't have to buy one to get the right size anymore.
That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. That really is. That's really encouraging, I think, for people who are listening that it can be broken. I think that's the one thing, Renee, that most of us who struggled with our weight for so many years have got to understand that it can be broken. I think that's
Oh,
one of the
yeah.
hardest things. Like, you beat yourself up and you're like, I just don't know if I'm ever going to lose this weight. I just don't know if I'm ever going to be thin enough. I just don't know if when I
Mm,
do lose it, will I overcome it? Like, will I be able to stay
mm,
thin, right?
mm.
Because it's one thing to lose it. I think all of us can kind of work out some
Yeah,
diet
yeah,
and make it happen. But it's the keeping it off, Renee. It's the
yeah.
keeping it off that's the hardest part.
Mm.
So tell my audience, like, at least if you can, one thing that you would want somebody to focus on if they are trying to keep it off and are scared or struggling with that piece.
Oh, I hear this every day from clients. They're like, will I be able to? Yes, but you have to make good choices.
Yeah.
You cannot go back to eating the way you always did. You can have a meal or maybe a day, but day to day eating the same stuff you ate before in the same
Yeah.
quantities you did before, that's not going to work for you. If
Right.
you because your body is accustomed to holding on to it.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
So you've got to work with your body and help
Right.
it get accustomed to this new way of eating.
Right.
You can
Right.
have anything you want in a certain quantity once in a while,
Mhm.
but you
Mhm.
just can't go to that favorite restaurant with portions the size of dinner plates,
Yeah.
the big ones going
Yeah.
over the
The
plate.
big
You
ones.
can't
Yeah.
eat everything and maintain your
Right.
weight. But, part of that is dealing with the emotional stuff, dealing
Yeah.
with your mind and your heart, because
Right.
we got to find what's driving the behavior bus and take away the
Yeah.
keys.
It's good. That's
Yeah.
good. Yeah, that's really, really good. Yeah, it's that self-sabotaging behavior, right?
Hmm.
It's that
Hmm.
behavior where you think, "Oh, I got this," and then you get there. Like you said, you and your mom would get to a certain weight, and then all of a sudden you'd gain it all back, right? It's that self-sabotage, that piece of
Hmm.
why is it that you're there? Like, you've lost all the weight, you're there. Why do you sabotage that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because we think
yeah,
now I can have anything I want.
right.
That's not the way it works.
It's consequences. Yeah.
There are consequences to those mouthfuls.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if we figure out, okay, food is not the only reward. It's just easy and available.
That's good.
So, how do we give you a reward that has nothing to do with food?
Mhm, mhm.
And if you give yourself that reward over and over, you'll feel better because the consequences are not negative,
Right. What's an
right?
example of a good reward?
It depends on the person. I've had women who bought themselves jewelry that they were trying to avoid.
Mhm.
Um, I've been known to go to a museum because
Oh,
it's
nice.
quiet and lovely. It's like I can have 3 hours off today to just go be,
Mhm. That's good.
right? So it,
Mhm.
it depends on you and what your interests are. But once you
Okay.
find that, then you must allow it for yourself. Because otherwise, you can be going back to the pacifier.
Yeah. That's so
Because,
good.
Nina, that's where a lot of it began. Because
Mhm, mhm.
when a baby is born, it comes out crying often. And we either give it the bottle or the breast
Mhm.
or a pacifier,
Mhm.
right? I actually taped this. You can still see the tape to my refrigerator at my
Oh,
height
that's
when I was
so
losing the
good.
weight to remind me this is what you're looking for.
Yes, yes.
What else will meet that need? Oral soothing works really well,
That's
but
good. That's a good
it
trigger.
doesn't it doesn't actually heal that emotional upset trauma wound from the past.
Right.
And if we can heal that, you get all sorts of good things.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. That's good. And it's also the healing and the piece that you also talked about too, right? Is the choices, it's the
Mhm.
accountability piece.
Mm, mm,
Because that's what I discovered too. Like after I was gone through my trauma healing and discovered where this root of this yucky stuff came from. And I'm
mhm,
sure there's still more because I have a lot of trauma in my life, but there's a lot
mm,
of it I've healed. But the
mm,
thing is that it made me realize that I was sitting there going like, but why are you still having such bad habits? And I realized that they're habits, they're things that I've learned to
right.
trigger. If I'm bored, let me go raid the fridge. If I'm angry, let me eat a cookie, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it is the choices, though. At the end of the day, it's going to come down to what you choose. I love that you said it's the accountability piece that helped you,
Mm.
right,
Because
Renee?
I
Because
knew I was going to
Mhm.
have to confess
Right.
to my coach. She said, how would you do? Oh, crumbs. I had cake and then we had wine and it just got out of control. And she said, okay, what are we going to do about that?
Right. Right.
Because it
Right.
is just that shifting what you
Yeah.
normally do to something different. And I saw a
Mhm.
meme once. It's like when it goes from I can't have it to I don't want it, then you're
Yes.
free.
Yes. Yes. Is that journey different for everyone, Renee? Like, do you think have you seen with all of your clients like a sweet spot for them when that happens, when that transition in their mind happens, or are they all very, very different?
Well, everyone's different.
Yeah.
But it seems that somewhere between month 4 and month 5, if they choose to continue,
Right.
then it's like, oh, but they've had, 120, 30, 40 days of focusing on this.
Right.
And
Right.
that helps the habit change. But the key thing is they have to want it, Nina.
Right. Yep.
They
That's
have
it.
to want their health. It's not even about the skinny body. They
Mm-hmm.
have to
Mm-hmm.
want their health and their
Mm-hmm.
self-control more than the Twinkie,
Yep.
right?
That's truth. That is true. Yes.
So
Yeah.
what I talk to them about is then who do you want to be? Who is your best self? Let's
That's good.
reconnect with her or him because I don't know about you, Nina, but my best self always makes much better choices.
Heck yeah. Heck
Yeah.
yeah. Right.
In my best
Good.
self, I wouldn't give over, a 5 pound level that I've got to because a Twinkie or some cake or French fries or whatever, I just wouldn't do it because
Right.
I know
Right.
what that does to me.
Right.
And
Right.
for
That's
me,
good.
sugar
Yeah.
and starches, they just make me mean. And I didn't know that until I got away from enough to see. I know it's
Right.
terrible. It's
Right.
awful. I think it's like I don't know if we can say this. It's like PMS constantly,
Yeah.
right? And that's not good for me or anybody around me.
Right. It's
So,
so true.
when
That's true.
mother-in-law comes up and says, "Would you like some of this cake?" No, really, that's kind, but I really don't because you know how it makes me get all mean and awful. And she's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, okay." But
That's
finding a
good.
way to communicate that to
Yeah.
people so that it's not, "Oh, I'm abstaining and I'm suffering for it." But no,
Yeah.
this is not what I choose to eat. I mean, if
Yeah.
you had a
Good for you.
peanut
Yeah.
allergy, you wouldn't be going in a peanut store.
Right. That's so true. That's so true because I have an addiction to sugar too, right? So that's why I try to avoid bake shops and pastries and all that kind of stuff because same analogy. You cannot go into a peanut store with a peanut allergy. I have a sugar addiction, so why go buy the crack if I know I'm addicted to
Yeah,
crack, right? That is so funny.
absolutely.
That is funny. So tell me a little bit about your journey with your clients. So if somebody's listening right now and really is jiving with what you're saying, Renee. Like,
Mhm.
what is that journey like? d- I know that you also are a coach and you're a counselor and all of that. So tell me a little bit about your process with your clients.
Okay. Well, I start with a 3-month program so that we can really dig into things.
Hmm.
And we meet one on one. I do the coaching, I don't hire that out. And we work through your body, your mind, and your soul because
That's
it is a
important. Yes, it
multiple.
is. Yes, it is.
And once we figure out what I do, a metabolic profile, so we know what works for your body, and then you can choose that or not. It doesn't matter
Hmm.
to me. You'll just
Hmm.
have the information, and if it works for you and if you enjoy it, great. You'll lose the weight. But if we don't address the mind and the heart, all those things that drive you to food for comfort or stress relief, then you won't ever get free of it.
Right.
Because if we
Right.
if we process some of that stuff, then you can unpack that baggage
Hmm.
and pack for the journey you actually want to be on.
Hmm.
And then we look at your soul, your best self, and what kind of choices would you make in that phase.
That's awesome.
So we have the one-on-one. I've got some video programs, the metabolic profiling, and we just get it done in 3 months. And if you
That's
still
great.
need support, it's there.
That's good. That's good though, because it gives people a starting point. And
Mhm.
I love that you do the metabolic thing with them and then give them the choice because
Mm,
I think people will start to want to be better and want to be healthier.
mm,
And so they'll know whether or not this is going to work for them or not because they'll say, well, you know what, maybe Renee's onto something with the metabolic thing. Let me give it a shot. Because once you start to clear the cobwebs out of the mind and your
mm.
emotions start to get a little bit better, you can't help but to show up for yourself. You want to show up for you, you
Yeah.
know? And
Yeah.
if that means that a pro is telling you something that they have been through, walked through, and have overcome,
Mm.
maybe we should pay attention. You know what I mean? Like
It
maybe we should
might
pay a
be
little
a
bit of attention. Might be.
good idea. Yeah.
That's really great. So Renee, I know that we're coming up to time, but I really enjoy everything you're talking about, and you just seem very like straightforward and authentic, and also empathetic to me.
Mm.
So I really really enjoy that you came on to Straight Talk. But before I let you go, I do want to ask you a little bit about your book because you have a book called "What's Really Eating You." So tell me a little bit about that book before we wrap up.
Sure. In some ways, it's my journey. It's
Hmm.
not really memoir. It's how I worked my way through it,
Oh,
and
great.
we just chapter. I wrote it, and my I had 2 chapters that the editor had a problem with. One was on diet, and the other was on exercise. And my chapter on diet was pick one, and my chapter on exercise was do some. And she said, "You're going to need a little more than that." I was like,
It's funny, but that would have been really like to me. That's brilliant. Like that's
"That's what I
brilliant. Yeah,
thought."
I think if I would have turned to that chapter and it was a diet, pick one, exercise, do some, I would have died laughing and been like, okay, like it should be any more real than that, right? Oh, I love that. You should have just went with it. That's really, really great. So, Renee, I know that, like I said to you in the beginning, I have a really fabulous audience. I really do. And they are, constantly DMing me, asking questions about my guests, things like that. So, please let us know. If somebody's listening to this and saying, this is exactly what I need. I am really struggling with this. I want to work with Renee. So tell us like that info. Where can people like support you, follow you, all that great stuff?
My website is packyourownbag.com. I'm on Facebook at facebook.com/packyourownbag. And then it's Pack Your Own Bag on Instagram. And I've got a YouTube channel.
Okay. Oh, you do. Okay, great. Great. So I'm going to make sure that they get that info because this is great. I mean, I think are you like just sharing like tips and stuff on your social media platforms as well?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what I did this week because I do a video every week, and that is my blog.
Okay.
And then day to day, it's on Facebook. It's whatever I come up with. because, there's so many little things out there. It's
Yeah.
nice to share them as they
Yeah.
come up.
Yeah, for sure. And sometimes it's good for you to give us a little information on maybe what isn't real, right? Because there's a lot of stuff out there too. There's like great info, but there's also info that's maybe not great info, right? So yeah.
Well, can I give you one thing about
Yes.
emotional eating? Okay.
Yes.
It's not hard to overcome emotional eating. You just have to get the hang of it. And
Right.
hang is an acronym. Okay.
Go for it.
So if you're staring down the ice cream in the freezer, am I hungry?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
If you're hungry, you may need something to get ice cream or not. It's up to you. But am I actually hungry? And if you're
mm-hmm.
not, A is, what is the attraction to food in that moment? Why are you being drawn to it? And the N is need. What do I actually need right now? You may
Mm-hmm.
need to walk the dog. You may need a hug. You may need to call a friend. But what is it you need in this moment? And then the G is go. Go get that, because that will soothe you more than the food ever could.
Oh, that's good, Renee. That's good. You
Thank you.
just dropped some knowledge on the way out the door. That's awesome. Renee, that was awesome. Thank you so much for coming on to Straight Talk. I really love you, the way you're candid, the way you just say things. And I just think that you're phenomenal. So I really
Oh,
appreciate you being here. Thank you so much
thank
for
you.
being on Straight Talk.
Thank you for
Appreciate it.
having me.
Yes, awesome. Guys, I know I told you. I told you I find the best humans on the planet, and I found Renee Jones. So make sure you guys follow her. I'm going to link all of her information below. As you know, she has the book out and her YouTube channel and Facebook and all that great stuff. And I don't want you guys to miss anything. And please reach out to her. If anything that she has said touched you, reach out to her so that you can see if maybe you can work together. She can become your coach, and maybe we can finally stop this emotional baggage, right? Pack your own bag, guys. Pack your own bag. So thank you guys for being here. This is Neena Perez, Straight Talk, No Sugar Added. Until next time.